Hello. Hi, everybody. How are you feeling today? I am Jenny Jam coming to you with our holistic wellness series that I'm doing with Desiree. We're going to wait for her to come on in, but come on in, settle in, get ready, set up your space. We're going to be discussing the topic of self love today. Um, Here she is. So let's get this party started. Hoping everybody's feeling well today. Do do do. Okay, there it goes.
Here we are.
Yay! Hey.
Oh, mama. Let's see. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay. Hey.
How's it going?
Ooh. I am good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. A little emotional this morning.
What's
And
going
I
on?
was I was just wondering why, and I remembered that like the week before my moon cycle, I tend
hmm
to get more emotional,
Oh,
like
yeah, same.
crying for no reason, just angry for no reason. So I was like, "Oh, okay. Okay."
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
forget every month, and then I'm like, "What is going on?" And then I'm like, oh, "Okay. Yeah."
Yes, that happens every month. That happened to me today.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. Mhm.
but I've been using like new tools as well. Like I'm obviously tracking. So now I'm like, oh, this week could be a little something. And
Mm.
so I started doing ashwagandha,
Okay.
and that like calms me down.
Mm.
And then also maca root. I have so many of these different tinctures.
Take your life.
I'm like the tincture queen. All
Yes,
right, I have no idea
yes.
where it is.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I had to just I did some journaling, did a
Mm,
little bit of crying, just
mm,
releasing.
yeah.
And then just like positive self-talk, which
Yeah.
is when I'm in those like highly emotional moments, it's hard to talk positively. And then just, being okay with being emotional.
Yeah.
I feel like as women, we're told like to hide our emotions and everything's supposed to be fine. We're supposed to be strong, but it's okay to be emotional and not feel okay. So just
I
also reminding myself of that helped.
Absolutely. I think something that I've been like playing in my mind over and over again is this idea that we as women are very cyclic, right? And
Hmm.
so we are raised to believe like, oh, she's just crazy. She's going through PMS or she's doing this, you know?
Hmm.
And those are ways that kind of silence us and doesn't allow us to really experience all the feels. And so
Yeah.
we feel shameful for like, oh, why am I sad? Why am I mad? Why am I
Hmm.
this? Why am I that? Because all of our lives we've been told that that is basura, like that isn't what is supposed to happen. That's not normal. That's abnormal, and it's not true.
Right.
Women, very much so, are allowed to experience the full range of emotions, and that's something that I'm leaning so much more into, at least over the last, let's call it like 6 months. But I still, of course, have these thoughts of like, I'm crazy. Like,
But that's not a bad thing.
I must be crazy. So,
Yeah. I feel
um,
like there's such a negative connotation put on that word. Like,
it
it's
is.
okay to be crazy. Like, you
Yeah.
have to, like, lose your mind, so to say,
hmm
to find yourself. Like, it's actually encouraged to be crazy. Then you
Yeah.
realize the truth of everything.
That's true. Hello. That's a word too.
Hmm.
That is a word too. And
Yeah.
also, actually, I did my one of my theses for philosophy when I went to Howard was on the word crazy, like, and how we have
Mm.
that particular connotation on the word. And I used an example about one of my family members who, to the outside world, may be perceived as crazy, but he's actually like wildly intelligent, right?
Hmm.
And so he can't think in the same way that we are thinking. And so to the untrained mind, that is just perceived as, mentally ill or crazy, so to say. And
Mm-hmm.
so I did this like just investigation on how we come to these terms and where lunatic comes from and crazy and like all of these things. I need to find that paper. But
Yes, yes. I
yeah,
just posted something about
did
crazy.
you?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna send it to you.
Yeah, yeah, please
Um,
do.
but yeah, the untrained mind, meaning like the super conditioned mind that
Yep.
can't see anything any other way. Yeah, yeah, and just taught to like think within this certain scope of how they
Yeah.
want you to think, but broadening that up.
Say that again. The
Hmm?
untrained mind.
The untrained mind being the conditioned mind.
Yes, I like
Yeah.
that a lot. Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's immediately what I thought of when you said untrained. I was like, oh, you mean conditioned, the untrained
Yeah,
to think any other way. You know,
exactly.
like the Eastern closed mind or the Western
The
closed mind
Western.
versus
Yeah,
like the Eastern open mind.
exactly. Yeah, that's totally right. Even I just went to the doctor just now, and I had a resident working on me, and I mean, also a doctor, but the resident, and he was just very, what does the textbook say? And I challenged him to
Mm,
think beyond what is your textbook saying to you? Who wrote your textbook, my friend? Right? And
mm-hmm.
you can see his mind go off and think, oh, I never really even thought of that before. So,
Yeah, like getting stuck in these
yeah,
systems
you can
that
so
don't
get stuck.
always work. You know, things
Exactly.
are supposed to grow and change and evolve,
Yeah.
and just going with that instead of sticking to the textbook, sticking to
Mm,
what is written in stone. Because when
mm,
it's written in stone thousands of years ago, it's always going to be right. I'm like, no,
mm-hmm.
that's not. It's not how this works. Not how
Exactly.
evolution works.
No.
Yeah. But let's get to our topic of the day. Finally, right? Bring it in. Bring it
Bring it,
in.
bring it in.
Um, so I am hosting today. I'm Jenny of Jenny Jam Fitness. I'm a multi-talented movement guide, and my aim is just to help women of the Black community heal themselves through means such as movement, shifting their mindset, and just sharing tools and tips that I've learned over these past few years that have helped me to grow and evolve and, shift into alignment within myself so that I can be the most full, authentic, free expression of myself. So I just aim to guide women to doing that as well, through coaching, through dance fitness. I have my class jam down that I love that I'm doing all weekend. So
That
just
is a
getting into
blast.
our bodies, moving our womb center and our
Yes.
hips and getting, everything loose and
Hmm.
getting into our sensuality and our power. And then I have courses online as well. So just a quick intro about me, and then I want to do a quick
Yes.
intro about you, Desiree, and then we'll start into the topic.
Yes. So I am Desiree, co-hosting with my lovely friend Jenny Jam Fitness. Please take her class. It is an absolute blast. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
I am by trade, I am a holistic doula. I am a yoga teacher, meditation teacher, and holistic wellness consultant. But essentially, my entire life thus far is centered around guiding people through any of their sacred transitions, right? And so that could be transition into
Mm,
a healthy lifestyle. That could be a transition into motherhood, pregnancy, conscious conception, meaning like fertility, postpartum, sex, if you need like guidance in expanding your sexual experiences as well. And so that is my role in this world, is just a
mm.
guide to help people transition. So that's why
Mm,
I'm
I
here.
love that. I love that. Yes, the transitions,
Yes,
sacred
yes.
transitions.
Sacred transitions.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. Beautiful,
thank
beautiful.
you.
So, our topic today is going to be self love. So, we could just start with like a definition, I guess, of self love, which I always feel like defining things just like kind of narrows it down and like
Mm,
putting them like kind of just, it doesn't express the huge, scope of it.
yeah.
But I would say self love is just, holding yourself in the highest regard and making sure
Hmm.
that you are okay, you are good, you are full of peace and joy, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, in all those ways. And just putting your own well being and happiness above everything else.
Yeah.
So I'd say, what would you say self love is?
Yeah. Just as you were speaking, I'm thinking like it can go many ways, but I would say that a definition would be taking a concerted effort to focus inward, right? And
Mm.
the many different mediums that that may unfold in your worlds. Like focusing
Mm-hmm.
inward could mean changing your lifestyle as far as like diet and nutrition. That could be praying more to the higher source, right? Because that is going to fill up your body in particular ways. That could
Mm.
be taking yourself on dates or journaling. You know, it can manifest in many, many, many different ways, but overall, it is taking a concerted effort to focus inward for the improvement of self, typically for
Mm.
the improvement of like community.
Right. Yes. Yes. Because when you better yourself, you automatically
Yeah,
better your community, which betters the
exactly.
world.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. I had something came to mind and then it went away,
Come
flittered off
back.
into the breeze, right? I'm like hoping it will come
Baby,
back
come
to
back.
me. You know, when like I heard it and then it clicked while you were talking, but I didn't want to interrupt your,
Oh, yeah.
beautiful definition of
Ah,
self-love. It'll probably come back though.
it will come back.
Um, yeah, and just
Yeah.
I feel like not settling for less than you deserve. Oh, you
Mm,
were talking about focusing inward. That's what it was. I
yes.
feel like we're so taught to focus on the external, like how we're performing, how people
Mm,
see us, that like the
right.
challenge when we get older is realizing that we haven't taken any time to focus inward. And like,
Yeah,
what does that mean? What does that feel like? What
exactly.
does that look like? How do we get the tools to do that? How do we practice that every day? And like normalize it, because when you first start out on like, because I feel like everybody's like going on their self-love journey, like when you first start out, it's like, what am I supposed to do? What does it look like? And a lot of people get stuck in just the one aspect of self-love, which is
Mm,
self-care. It's like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I love myself. I took myself out to get a pedicure, and like
Yeah. That's
only doing the
superficial.
surface level
Yeah.
things, yeah, and not focusing inward on what's actually going on emotionally, like, facing your trauma and your shadows,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing, how things were screwed up in your childhood and what you need to address that keeps playing out in your life. So that was a great point when you said inward. That's what I thought of, how we
Yeah,
just focus on the external so much that we forget
exactly.
to focus on the internal. So self love is just
Yes,
bringing all that to your awareness. It's basically
absolutely.
just raising awareness.
Yeah, I think you're so right, and especially hitting the nail on the head when you mentioned that self-love is separate, different than self-care,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think people
Mm-hmm.
use those terms very synonymously, and they
Yeah,
very much so
interchangeably.
are not the same thing. I think self-care is a portion of self-love.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
it is a key indicator of self-love, right? Because, if you're like looking rough in these streets, that may not be a great indicator of self-love in that particular moment.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't also equate that if you're all dolled up on the outside, that you are feeling, experiencing, and knowing what self-love is, right?
Right, right. There are
It
a lot
does.
of people
It's
who look great, but
yeah,
don't hold themselves in the high regard, and
exactly.
they aren't confident in themselves. They don't empower themselves. There's a lot of negative self-talk, but they
Hmm.
just make sure that they're all made up on the outside.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, I do find those things to be two separate things. I am interested in knowing, when do you believe your self love journey began? And then what did you start with?
Hmm, good question. I believe it began because it wasn't really a thought, because I grew up in a family, like of Caribbean women who were just givers. So
Mm-hmm.
everything is like, let me give, 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 but not really considering what I need in life.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2018, I actually like started noticing that it was actually after I had my first panic attack in
Mm-hmm.
2018,
Mm-hmm.
and I like couldn't breathe, and I didn't understand because I had spent so long pretending that everything was okay. And it's like, I
Mm-hmm.
love myself because I take care of myself. I work out because,
Mm-hmm.
into fitness and dance. I'm like, I work out, I move my body, I eat healthy. So that means I love myself, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't thinking about what I wanted or what I needed, because the example I grew up with was just giving, 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 and not considering
Right.
yourself. So after I had that panic attack, I was like, okay, something like, or everything is not in alignment. Like something is way off and I need to pay
Right.
attention. So I started to pay attention more and then ask myself, what do I want? that was like the 2018 was like the year of that question. It's like, what do I want? Which
Mm,
I've never really asked myself. And I feel like when other people ask me, I'm like, well, I don't know, what does everybody else want? Because I need to people please and I need to give
right,
what people want. So it's
right.
just like, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? And I couldn't think of, because it's also, I feel like it wasn't normalized to not know. Like you got to know what you want. You have to live your life knowing what you want. And I didn't know.
Mm,
So I now like thinking about it now, I'm like, okay, it's okay to not know what you want. Like I
right.
didn't know what I want, but I knew what I didn't wanted. And I didn't
Mm,
want my life to continue the way that it was going because obviously it brought me to that point where I was just like freaking out, crying, couldn't breathe, like thinking I was going to die from
right.
crying, which,
Wow.
your body just goes into that fight
Shock.
or flight response and it's just
Yes.
like, yeah, I'm going to die. This is how I go out. I'm just going
This
to
is
cry
it.
myself to death. It's all over.
It's all over.
Yeah, so that was when I came to it. And then I just kept asking myself, like, what do you want? What do you want?
Mm,
What do you want? And then I think I would add to that now, it's like, it's okay to not know what you want. Like,
right,
that's also a part of the journey. It's okay to
right.
not know because you have to get rid of all that you think that you know and then kind of make it up as you go along and
Mm,
notice what makes you feel good and what brings you
mm,
the joy and the peace and the love for
mm.
yourself that you want to feel all the time.
Right.
So yeah. Did that
Yeah, that's a
answer
very
your
good
question?
question. Yes, it did.
Okay.
That's a very good answer to say that it's the inquisition of self is a huge
Mm.
portion of the
Mm-hmm.
beginning stages of a self-love journey.
Yeah.
Because you do have to question, well, what do I believe doesn't feel right for me? What do I
Mm-hmm.
believe feels good? What do I believe? Ba, 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 ba.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
most of the time, I would say most people are not asking those kind of questions to themselves. Most people are just, going through the motions until
Mm-hmm.
something goes off in them where they realize, oh, I need to take like control over my own life.
Yeah.
And
I need to take responsibility.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that may not happen until someone is 60, 70, right? I
Mm-hmm.
was just talking to someone the other day. She is maybe like 50 something. Her husband unfortunately passed, and
Mm.
her kids are older, and now it's just her. And so she has to start to ask herself these questions that she hasn't had to ask ever because that was
Mm.
her high school sweetheart. So she never
Mm.
had, the opportunity
Yeah.
to um, do an inquisition of one's own mind, body, and spirit, heart, emotions, etc. So yeah, it may not happen at 30, 40. That moment of enlightenment may not happen until later on within life, and that's okay too. That's just your
Mm-hmm.
continued journey.
Yeah, yeah. And when it happens, it doesn't mean that like it's happening. All right, everything's gonna go up from here, everything's gonna
Right.
change. It's
Cyclic.
non-linear. It's like
Cyclic.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. Like if I could map out my like healing journey, it would look, yeah, like a crazy cyclic
Yes.
type of thing.
It
Um,
absolutely would.
so also being okay with it, not with you not, realizing or noticing things as you go along. You might reach a certain point where you feel good, and then the universe is going to be like, "Oh, are you sure? I'm gonna throw this your
Mm-hmm.
way and see how that
Mm-hmm.
goes."
Yeah.
We know the universe loves to do that.
Oh, yes. Currently.
Yeah, constantly.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I want to ask, reflect the same question to you. Like, where did it start for you, and
Yeah.
what's one thing that you continued to do from
Yeah.
the beginning?
I wish sometimes, actually, no, I'm totally okay with how my story began. But I was going to say, I wish that sometimes it didn't come from a place of um, vanity, but it did. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was maybe like 30, 30 to 40 pounds heavier than my standard weight was in 2014. And I just was very sad. I was so sad in like almost every single aspect of my life, like
Mm.
boyfriends, work, friendships, home. I was in Michigan. I mean, like trash. So, and I was
Trash life.
crash, and I was eating terribly, and just kind of a difficult time. And also at that time, the same boyfriend for like, I don't know, maybe 6 years at that point. So
Mm-hmm.
from children. So I never had a chance to inquire anything of my own mind either, in
Mm.
regards to self love, um, and what that meant. I don't even think I had self care down packed at that point, other than
Mm-hmm.
like, just standard looking good. But I don't think I made a concerted effort for self care either.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually you come to a point where you no longer want to feel that way, just sluggish and sad and, staying up and like terrible, terrible cycles and periods and, all of these different things were coming to a head in my life at that time. And so I just had to make a decision to switch. And it was a gentle transition. And for me, it started off with nutrition. That's not going to be everybody's story. That's just how my particular journey started off. And so I just started listening to my cousin, who was actually very, very smart in this holistic wellness game. But at the time, I was just like, this, I don't know what he's talking about, this apple cider vinegar. But then what I will never remember this. I texted him one day and I was like, what was that concoction that you were telling me about with the apple cider vinegar that's helpful for like digestion? And and he told me, and that was a major moment in my healing journey because I didn't really like texting or talking to him so much, just from like a history of growing up or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
for me to like go out of my way to seek help and guidance from him
Mm-hmm.
was really kind of a profound moment in my healing journey. And so from that day on, every morning I had my apple cider vinegar with my hot water, my lemon, my honey, maybe some cinnamon in it to make it taste like apple pie a little bit.
Oh, that's
And
smart.
yeah, it was pretty good, really good.
Mm.
But if you're gonna do the cinnamon, take out the lemon, either or. But
Mm-hmm.
um, and so that just taught me one, consistency, and with that, I started like looking at the foods that I was buying from Walmart, and then I stopped going to Walmart to get my food. And stopped getting packaged.
Makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. And then slowly but surely, I just started to finding myself transition. And then you start reading books and you start listening to messages and words, and you just start going down this particular path and journey. And so that's how I began loving on myself. It started off with nutrition and started off
Mm.
with me not feeling so hot about my particular self and how I felt physically.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point,
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't even like stepped too much into spirituality. But
Mm.
yeah, that's where it started, and that's how my self-love journey began to unravel, and it unravels so many different ways at this point, as we are going to continue to share in our healing series.
Yes.
But yeah, that's how
Beautiful.
my journey started. And actually, to this moment, I hadn't really gone through the motions of like, how did I get here? But that, I would say, that
Yeah.
was the beginning of that volume of my life.
Yeah. I didn't even like you bringing that up, and I feel like that could be a catalyst for so many people is learning how to eat better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that like now that you're mentioning it, I'm like, oh yeah, mine started before, but I think it wasn't, I don't think it was a self-love journey. I think it was just a self-care journey that started.
Mm-hmm.
And then it developed into, a self-love journey. But it
Yeah.
was just, feeling depressed and sad about my life and not knowing my purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
then like it started with getting a puppy, and I was like, I need something
Mm.
that's gonna make me happy and make me actually get up off this couch and like go outside, because I know I'd be
Yeah.
forced to actually like walk the dog. And at the time my partner was working overnight, so he would work overnight and then sleep in the day, so I was alone even in a relationship. So I was like, I need companionship and something, puppies are always happy, something that's going to show me that there is happiness in this
Right.
world. And then like everything kind of just unfolded from then. Like I started walking, and then like you were bringing up, switch in nutrition, because
Mm-hmm.
nutrition is so powerful and it affects
Okay.
you in so many ways.
Everywhere,
And
really.
I feel
Well,
like this diet culture that has been happening, like I started with nutrition, but then I fell into diet culture because I was also in
mm,
fitness. So
mm.
like, all right, watch how many calories you're eating, and you can't
Ugh,
have this
I
many
did have
calories, and
that
you can't eat
moment.
this food, and no carbs. And I went through a whole, like a few years of that and
Ugh,
giving people that information and then being like, this doesn't make any sense.
this isn't
And
it. I
not
had a salad
realizing
for
that,
like, I swear I ate salads for like months. Like
mm,
nothing but
mm,
salads, maybe soup for months.
yikes.
And I was like, oof, I don't want to
Yeah.
do that
You
again.
know, you gotta eat
Mhm.
how you feel happy. Like
Exactly.
salads aren't something that necessarily make me happy, but sometimes they do. Like if they're
Yeah.
made right and
Oh
include
yeah.
ingredients that I know that I gravitate towards, then I'm
Exactly.
gonna do it because I know it makes me feel good, not like because I'm watching my weight or I'm thinking
Exactly.
about, calories, getting
Yeah.
obsessed with that. So I feel like that is another level of self-care that's
Hmm.
just on the surface that people just look for because that's what's pushed towards us. It's like only think about things that are on the surface,
Yeah.
that others
Yeah.
can see.
I also wonder, like, we got to our point today because of all of the like crazy fad things that we did too. So I wonder if there's even still value. I'm sure there's still value in people still doing,
Mm-hmm.
all of the crazy
Yeah,
things that we did. It's just
yeah.
being aware and like keen on the fact that that is not going to be your answer typically long
Mm-hmm.
term,
Mm-hmm.
sustainably. But
Yeah, it's like a lotus. Like you have to kind of go through what doesn't work and go through the muck to
yeah,
like unfold and develop on top of all of that. So
exactly.
yeah, if it's a part of the story, then it's a part of the story. It's gonna because it's gonna propel you to the next phase and the next
Mhm.
stage.
You know what?
Um,
I think one of the most dynamic shifts that I began to see in my self love journey was also when I started reading Queen Afua's Sacred Woman,
mm-hmm.
and that is really, really going into looking at the full self, mind, body, spirit, and loving yourself and your story
Mm-hmm.
in all of its muck.
Yes, yes.
Um, yes, I think
I was
that,
just reading that.
yeah,
That
that
book is like the Black woman's Bible.
it
Like
is
that
the
book
Bible. It
is
really is.
super transformative.
And I tell people all the time because people get very discouraged when they read that book and they try to read it like a book. I said it's not
Mm-hmm.
a book.
Yeah.
It's it's a textbook where
Yeah.
you
It's a
go.
guide.
It's a guide. And so unless you're like doing the actual Sacred Woman journey, then you're actually like reading the book as it correlates to the program.
Mm-hmm.
But um, yeah, I think that book was so helpful in defining what has occurred in my life previously, and then also how to heal from like all of the things. Like, why did you accept bing bing bang bang bang? Or,
Mm-hmm.
how do you listen to your heart? How do you know self love? How do you feed said body? There were so
Yeah.
many different points that she hit on in that book that I was like, oh, say words,
Mm.
sis.
Yeah. I still have to, I mean, it's a lot. I only got up to like page 130, I think. But it
Yeah,
was just it was all I needed at that time.
that's what I'm saying. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I tell people to do with that book is to run your finger past that book, flip through the pages and then
Mm-hmm.
allow your finger to guide you to a page. Whatever page that is where you needed to read in this particular moment.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
it.
And don't try to overwhelm
Don't
yourself
try
with
to
all of
overwhelm
it.
yourself. And I have found like profound things in the exact moment that I needed to just by
Mm.
doing that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it could be about like sacred partnership. What does that mean? In a specific time where I needed to read that portion.
Yeah.
Or it can be specifically about, womb wellness, right? And I needed that in that particular moment. Whatever it is in that particular book, I think that book is winner winner chicken dinner. Oh my gosh,
Yes, yes. That
I
book is
can't express that.
everything. And I
So
didn't find the book after, like, I found Queen Afua first. And
Mm.
then I was like, ooh, I was doing her Sacred Sundays, like every
Oh,
Sunday. She
nice.
would do the Instagram live, and I would just be like, grab my notebook, grab
Glued.
my pen, and be there
Yes.
and like take
Yes.
all the notes and be like, all right, this is what I'm going to plan to do for this week. And it was
Yes.
perfect, perfect reset on Sundays. Because on Sundays, I also did like a technology purge. So that
Uh-huh.
would be the only thing that I watched, and I would take notes, and then I would just be outside and be away from the computer and the phone. But that was, you get what you need when you're
Yeah.
needing it. Like the
Uh,
universe will provide for you. And that book, like, provided, and more.
Provided.
Yes. So I wanted to just go through, I guess, just to give people, like, go through all of this and then to give people some action steps that they can take or just some things to take into the future being mindful of.
Mhm.
So just maybe if you could share, like, a few practices, maybe 3 practices that you do to promote your self-love each day and that you're
Mhm.
consistent with, that you would suggest that other people can start with.
Yeah.
I said
Great
simple, not
question.
easy, because it's,
Hmm.
never going to be
Yes.
easy. It's not going to feel easy, but it is very simple.
Mm. I think I won't even say things that I do consistently because I'm a cyclical being, and so I have noticed that there are going to be certain times that I can call upon certain practices that I won't be able to do in other parts of my life cycle. And so I'm just honoring that. Okay.
Yes, great,
So
perfect, perfect. Great point. Great point.
so I have learned so much about mirror work. And that could be mirror work, meaning to look at oneself and really learn, observe, and like speak positive words of yourself. And so, and now I'm speaking about your physical being, right? We'll get to
Mm,
the other portions, but I'm speaking on your physical being in this moment. And so, mirror work can be looking at your face for, 3 to 5 minutes and really looking at your face.
hmm
There's so many times where you don't even,
Without judging it, right?
right, without judging it. Thank you.
Mm,
Say, wow, I never even saw the shape of my eyes, the arch in my nose. I have these particular hairs, exactly in my eyebrows. Looking at
mm,
your nostrils, your lips, your teeth, really observing oneself, right? And I think that is an excellent way to start physically
mm,
loving on oneself, which may be something that is more attainable and easier for people to connect with in the beginnings of their journey, right? So
mm,
really identifying your face and your body, and also like as a sex doula, we would encourage someone looking at their vulva, right, for 3 to 5 minutes, maybe even more, and really going that route to begin to have a relationship with oneself in
mm,
all of your fullness.
mm,
So I think that
mm,
is something really important and very transformative. I actually specifically remember noticing my eyes years ago. I was
mm.
probably at least 20 something, and that was like the first time in my life where I like looked at my eyes.
Yeah, yeah. I think the without judgment part is very important, like to remind yourself
Yes.
just to observe, just to stand back, or to also, do you think just observing would be the thing to do, or observing with positive thinking?
Observing with affirmations, right?
Mm-hmm,
So it's
mm-hmm,
like, oh, look at my eyes. There's a beautiful like brown tint to my eyes, or
mm-hmm.
looking at my cheekbones. My cheekbones
Yeah.
bring joy into this world when I smile, you know,
Mm-hmm,
and kind of
mm-hmm,
going down your physical being in that way. Yeah, I find it to be really, really impactful and an excellent way for you to walk in this world differently. Also, I've managed with changing my posture. I had terrible posture, the worst
mm.
posture ever. Like
As a
this,
lot of us do, because now
yeah,
this is all we do. Phone,
exactly,
computer.
exactly. And then one day my mom told me about how everyone would watch my great grandfather walking through the Virgin Islands with such a straight back, and my grandma has such a straight back, and so it made me want to have a straight back, and so that was a part of like my physical transition as well,
Mm.
in regards to self-love, because you can see the difference in when people walk with straight backs versus people who like more slouch over. It's saying something, it's communicating something. So
Mm-hmm.
taking a moment to identify that and try to shift and change it. Now, two more things. I would say self-love. I would also say journaling
Mm.
and honoring my emotions, whatever that may be, right? I go
Yeah.
through, many different emotions. And
Yes. That's how
so,
we started. We were like,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
have these moments that aren't,
Yes.
all high all the time. Yeah. We're here,
Exactly.
then we're here, then we're crying, then we're laughing, then we're
Yeah,
happy.
yeah. And that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish people would live in the fact that that is normal, not trying to shame people for feeling. Feeling is just normal.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I go in my journal, I just allow myself to be without judgment, you know, and that is self love. Whatever is going on from my head to my finger to the paper, that's what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, lastly, any like spiritual work. So that could be for my particular spirit. I may go to my altar that I have for my ancestors, right? And so that allows me to do some spiritual work, which connects me, in my personal belief, to the higher source and my ancestors, and that fills me up in a particular way that nothing else could. So
Mm. Love
that
that.
those are my three things, which would be, doing the mirror work, writing in my journal, and doing altar work.
Yes, yes. I hope you guys are taking notes. Those are amazing. Thank you for that, for sharing those.
Yeah,
Those
what
are
about
great.
yourself?
I feel like they're, oh, me. Yeah, I feel like they're very like specific and particular to you. The ones that come to mind for me are just like they're kind of overarching, and then
Mm,
there's little things that you can do, of course, underneath that to fill it in with
mm,
more self-care and then more self-love. But I think the first thing was just is just raising awareness,
yeah.
like being aware of what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and then, like we were saying before, without judgment, trying to go through this without judgment is always
Mm,
like a huge reminder and a huge shift. So I think just raising awareness and the way that and then there's like points under that. There's so many ways that you can raise awareness, and one that is, so transformative is, of course, meditation. So just thinking, sitting there, breathing, and then going through your thoughts without judgment, just noticing what
mm,
comes up. And then, as we were saying, it's cyclical. So there's going to be thoughts that come up over and over and over and over and over again, and just noticing them.
yeah.
So just starting there was like a huge thing for me. So like the panic attack was like the shock of like, all right, you need to be aware of this. You need to be aware
Mm,
of how you're feeling, of what you want, how you want to feel in life, what brings you joy, and go
yeah.
towards that more. Yeah. And then the other thing, which we also brought up, was just what you feed yourself. So what you feed yourself, what you eat, what you listen to, what you read, what you watch, who you're
Yes,
around, that's all a part of your nourishment. So I
that's
think
right.
that would be like nourishment would be another thing that to pay attention to is just like, what are you accepting into your world? Because whatever you're
Mm,
accepting in is going to get in there and it's going to, like we said, it's going to cycle around. So that's what's going to keep going on inside of you.
yeah.
Just being aware of that and noticing if that promotes your self love and if it promotes you holding yourself in this high regard
Exactly.
and how it makes you feel on the inside. Is your inner world okay with that? Does it bring you joy? Does it bring you anxiety? Do you
Mm,
tense up around certain things, or do certain foods not make you feel good? Or certain TV shows? Like I had to cut out watching horror and things like that because I was
yeah,
like,
that
it
had to
doesn't
be
make me
out. It
feel
doesn't
good.
feel good.
Yeah, I'm like, it doesn't feel good to be scared.
No.
And we're conditioned to be like, oh, like you should be able to take it. Don't be a scaredy cat. And like,
Right.
it's thrilling. It's exciting. But I'm like,
Not for you.
no, actually, it's a jolt to my nervous system that
It
it
is.
doesn't feel good to me and I don't enjoy it. And I don't want to be conditioned also to like normalize
Mm-hmm.
these types of horrific things. And then like I had a whole fear of the dark, so that this didn't work well together. So
Oh
I was
yeah,
like,
no, that didn't work.
I'm gonna skip all of that, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the last way I would say is by new, creating new and healthy habits that
Mm-hmm.
you can get into. So like habit forming is a whole thing on its own. And then just reminding yourself, even with that it's a practice. Like you're not going to wake up and be like, all right, I'm going to have the habit of doing yoga every morning. Like it's not going to work like that. So just, taking it one small step at a time to form
Mm-hmm.
these healthy habits, which also keeps you aware that this is what you want to work towards. So
Exactly.
whatever little steps you do along the way, helps you work towards that new healthy habit that's going to be like, all right, well, I did this and I showed up for myself. So that means that I hold myself in the highest regard, that I respect
Yeah.
myself, that I love myself. So I think just to I'm like to start out with, I mean that's a lot, but just to have some tools to go into it. It does it keep freezing? Am I back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the 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 other thing that I wanted to add is also taking heed to the things that you can eliminate from your life as well. Like right now, we're talking about the things that you can add, but what
Mm-hmm.
about like the things that you can eliminate, right? Which means
Yeah.
if you are a smoker, let's cut that out. If you are, a habitual drinker or something, let's start to reduce or eliminate that. And I say reduce or eliminate just because that's a touchy subject in American society. People really love their alcohol. So,
Yes, they do.
yeah, so I ain't touching that one. But,
We don't have time to go into
mm-mm,
everything right now. Mm-hmm.
mm-mm. Yeah, just think about what are the things that you can eliminate that can take some of the pressure off of your, mind, body, and spirit. Whatever
Yeah.
that is, even if it's one thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like when people do Lent. What is that one thing that you can take off
Yeah.
that is going to give you relief
Yeah.
and allow the space for you to do habit forming,
Mm.
activities?
Great point. Yeah. And I want to say, because I do habit forming in my course, one thing with habit forming is most of the time it's not going to be like eliminating is great, it's going to be replacing something.
Mm,
So instead of, drinking all that alcohol or, feeling drawn to because you're in a social situation, if you want to kind of like it might be hard to just eliminate it. So you want to replace it. So what can you replace it with? Like
mm,
when I was working on that, I did like I took a bubbles and flow yoga class where they give you champagne after, but I
mm-hmm.
was doing 30 days no drinking. So I brought kombucha and that was my replacement for
Mm-hmm.
it. So I still felt like okay and I was
A
like
part of, yeah,
yeah, and I was glad that I was drinking this kombucha because I know that afterwards I would feel good, that the next day I would
exactly.
still feel good and I would still be
Yeah.
conscious and aware. And I'm sticking to the promise that I made to myself to not drink for those 30 days.
I
So I
like
feel
that.
like if you eliminate, it might come right back, which is kind of like
Mm-hmm.
going back to diet culture, which is like people
Yeah,
try to cut out all these foods and then, you get sick of that and it comes right back. So just,
yeah,
slowly replacing things so that you have a healthier version that you can turn to. We
yeah. I
slip up
like
here
that
and there.
too.
We're human, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I do like that idea. It also it just depends on the type of person you are. Like there are some people who are just like, I'm not touching a cigarette ever again, and they like
Yeah.
never touch a cigarette ever again.
Yeah.
So, which is like
Some of those
kind of
rare,
insane.
talented, yeah,
Yeah, I'm just
rare,
like,
talented
who are you?
individuals
Who are
who
these
could
people?
just, yeah,
So,
yeah. Right? You might be more enlightened than you realize if you can do that. Like just cut it
exactly,
out
if
and
you can
stop
do
forever.
that, exactly. But I do have a friend who just like became a vegan. I was like, okay.
Mm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, good.
Yeah. But for most of us, we got to wean
Hmm.
ourselves into it, find good replacements.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And just remember that you're human and you're going to slip up and you're going to make mistakes. And
yeah.
it's just, I think for me, it's just like focusing on what feels good to you and what you know is good for your spirit and your soul and your mind and your body, and just live in that, live in
Mhm.
that embodied joy that you want to feel all the time. Because that, when you feel the most joyful and the most peaceful and the most like full of bliss, like that is your essence, the essence of yourself, that's your authentic self. So
Mm.
just working towards living in that, and that's self-love, just working towards living in that.
Yeah, I love it. I
Yay.
love it. Well, those were great, great
Yay
suggestions.
us.
Yay!
Now we celebrate ourselves because we did it. We did the chat. We talked
Yeah.
about ourselves. We gave some nuggets. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Thank you
Yeah.
for being here. Thank
Hmm.
you for doing this again with me, Des. I
Of
love these.
course. Me too.
Yeah, and I feel like this could really be amazing and healing for our communities.
Absolutely
So
agreed.
thank you.
Blessings. Thank you, my love.
Yes, blessings, blessings, blessings. Sending you love and hugs and all the sunshine and avocados that's out here in
Yes, give me
California.
avocados.
Yes, yes, avocados.
Hey, hey, giving you all the things. Everything you
Yes.
desire.
Yes.
That was like
I love
very
it.
Queen Afua-esque. She always does this.
Yeah. That's our dance.
I don't know where I got that, but
All right. Yes. On that note, we'll dance it
yes.
out. On that note, Queen Afua, sacred woman style.
Right. Bye.
Bye.